Hope you're having a magical holiday season, and the moment that at least I have been waiting for is here. Today I am sharing my top 10 2024 holiday recipes.
We're gonna get started with some adorable smoked salmon bites. Now these are super elegant and they can end up being pretty inexpensive. I'm starting with an English cucumber, and you just want to slice that into rounds. You try and make them all about the same size, just big enough that you could put the smoked salmon on top. You want it to hold the salmon like a cracker. And this is really nice because it's kind of an alternative to using a cracker. And when you make them ahead of time, the cucumber does not get soggy like a cracker would. So the crackers you'd have to make like right at the last minute, and if they sit out, then they're going to get soggy within an hour. This way you don't have that, and it's just a little bit lighter where you're already eating a lot of heavy things in the holidays. Having an appetizer like this is really amazing. To make a platter this size, you just need a small package of smoked salmon, and I feel like that size platter is just fine for any event. I actually even serve these at my wedding. You want to slice that package into thirds or fourths depending on the size. One of those in my area is about $5.99, and then a cucumber is about $1. So again, we're probably going to keep this whole thing to around $10, which is really, really reasonable. And then I'm chopping each of the cucumber slices I'm using sour cream, but you could also very easily use cream cheese depending on what you already have on hand or what you prefer. So I just prefer the sour cream. I like that with smoked salmon. My family is actually of Russian heritage, so for us, everything's like sour cream and smoked fish, which is definitely a little bit different, but it's really delicious. So just put that on top of there. And then you just want to top those with the smoked salmon. You'll find that when you slice it down like that, they're all sliced across as well. So you end up with these perfect little bites, and you can kind of fold them over and just place them right on top of the cream cheese or the sour cream. And then on top of that, I like to put a little sprig of dill. Dill tastes amazing with smoked salmon. And if you don't have that, that's not a big deal. Another really yummy topping with this is some pickled red onion, or even just like tiny little diced up red onions. Onion tastes amazing with it. And then I like to top mine with capers. Capers, again, you're going to find that like if you're like going to like a delicatessen or something and getting like a smoked salmon bagel, you may get capers on top of it, or like a caper cream cheese, and that's really quite delicious. So that's how I like to make mine. You can kind of make it your own with what you have on hand, and these are just a really delightful treat to have at any Christmas celebration. Next up, we have a Christmas charcuterie board, and this is actually, so amazingly beautiful, but actually also quite simple. And if you really look at this, there's actually not too many things on it. It's really about how you arrange it. And I'm going to show you some different ways that you can kind of save money making something like this, because it is so easy for a cheese board to just end up costing $50, $100, like especially if you start to go, oh, that's cute and I want to add that. It just really adds up. And so you really don't need to do that to have like such a beautiful board like that. I just started by grabbing a small wheel of brie, which again is going to be less expensive than something super large. And then I cut the top off of it and I put some raspberry jam. That's some jam that I already had around. I already had on hand that I could put on there. You can buy raspberry jam too, or really anything kind of red. So whatever your favorite is, that's going to be that red color. And then I grabbed a little Christmas tree cookie cutter. It's super easy to use a cookie cutter for the top of this, but if you don't have one that's that size, you can also try and cut it with a knife, and that would work. Or you can go with a different theme, right? So you don't have to use the Christmas tree. And then in a small bowl, we're going to kind of reuse that center of that brie there and make something else to kind of pop and color. So I grabbed a pomegranate. Pomegranates, you're going to see I used actually the rest of this same pomegranate later in a salad in the same video. Pomegranates are very inexpensive this time of year because they're a seasonal fruit. So they're like $1, $2 when you find them on sale. Unfortunately, I don't have like any crazy secrets for pomegranates. I know that there are supposedly like great ways to cut them and like, you knock them and they fall out. I kind of find that a lot of I've never been able to actually accomplish that. So I'm not sure if it's real or not that you can do that, or if people are like, I'm going to buy 100 pomegranates and then see how many it takes to get one that comes out like this. And then I'll post that video. I'm like, okay, really? Anyway, I took out the pomegranate seeds. You can also buy them, but when you buy them taken out, that's like buying, unshelled lobster. It's expensive. So then you just put those in a small bowl and you put that little Christmas tree on top. Alternatively, you could just put that jam, the rest of your jam, in a little bowl and then put the little white Christmas tree on top. And then I started with a circular cutting board, so I really like that circular look. Mine has a little handle on it, not a big deal. I kind of worked around that. Put the trees kind of on opposite ends of the circular cutting board. And then I grabbed some strawberries. Strawberries are a little tougher. It's not exactly that they're in season, but they do add a really beautiful pop of color. So I think it's worth buying a carton of them for something like this, especially if it's for a special holiday event. And then I just bought my favorite cheddar and I cut that into cubes. And then I have these like Tuscan crackers. You can really grab anything that's in a square shape for this. So you could use wheat thins or like Triscuits, whatever your favorite is. These were on sale. I think they were like $1.99 for the bag of them. So I was like, that is a steal. We are going to go with it. And then I wanted some little gingerbread man, but I didn't want to buy the big bag of them. They're like $3 or $4. And like I said, it easily adds up really quick. So those were, I think, $1. It was like 99 cents for the little bag of them. And so I was like, you know what? These are going to be perfect on this charcuterie board, and I'm not going to have to spend a ton of money. And they're just like the perfect little gingerbread men. And I don't really need more than that tiny little bag. So something to consider when you're making a board like this is to, just grab a small bag of each of the things. Unless you're going to use the rest of them later and use it for something else and it's like worth it. But, don't go crazy. Like, see if you can find like the single serving size, because that's going to be perfect to kind of just add to a board like this. And then as for the design, you can either like take the design of my board and print it out or save it on your phone and then kind of riff on it. So that's what I do. I'll find something like on Pinterest or on Instagram, and I'm not going to always find exactly what they have on their board, right? But I like the colors and I kind of like the design, and I kind of work from the photo to make it be similar. And then it's still yours, right? You're just using inspiration from someone else's art to create your own art. So I think that don't worry about like, I don't know how to do it. Just take a picture and then work from there. And so I have some raspberries and some blackberries. Luckily, those were on sale. I like the dark and the light color, like the red and then the black. I think that that's a little bit important in this. So it's kind of worth buying a few different fruits for. And then you want to put each thing in multiple places sometimes. So you notice that I have cheese in 2 places. I have the strawberries in 2 places, the blackberries, and the gingerbread men. So you can fill up a board pretty quickly when you start to put things in separate areas. So you don't want to put everything all in one place, or it doesn't mean that each place on the board needs to have something unique or individual. And that will help you save money too, because you just buy the one thing instead of the multiples. And it's fun to stick with a little theme. So I found these holiday themed Ritz crackers, and they weren't more expensive than the regular Ritz crackers, which was nice. And then I just grabbed all the little trees out from there and put those on this board. But there was also like ornaments and bells and different cute little shapes. So you could also serve those separately. My kids love the idea of all the different shaped Ritz crackers, and they are already gone, but I just used those trees there. And then I wanted to put some Santas, and I didn't want to spend like a lot on like the Lindt chocolates. I grabbed these marshmallow Santas from Dollar Tree. I took them out of the package, and they actually have really cute Santa face on them. They're set up like Santas. So $1.25, you get these adorable marshmallow Santas. They look really cute on your tray. They also had like this like reindeer thing you could have put on there. So Dollar Tree is a great place to find small packages of cute little treats. Like this peppermint bark was also something I found at Dollar Tree. And like, look at that pop of color, that white and that pink. Really delicious. It looks very elegant, but it was $1.25. So it was much cheaper than getting at the grocery store. And then just kind of filling in the rest of this with different things that you have. So, and sometimes you're going to do something like I put those gingerbread men on the side first, and then I'm like, actually, they don't really work there. Ended up putting them over the hole in the hand, because like you don't need everything perfect. Like I was going to go buy a special board just for this, right? And then just kind of filling in, and I have these cute little like gingerbread man and candy cane knife, and it just makes everything look so festive, so amazing. We really enjoyed this, and definitely hope that if you haven't given a charcuterie board a chance in the past, that this is your year to give it a shot. And make sure to like tag me on Instagram and stuff if you make one. I'd love to see it. And I served this and the salmon bites at one of our little wine lunches. That's a little get together I have with my grandmother and my aunt and her husband and my mom. And It's just a lovely time. The next one is a festive slow cooker cranberry meatball. So you put these on a plate with these special little like fork things. I just found those at the Dollar Tree on a red plate. It is something, it's truly spectacular, but it's actually really, really easy to make. So this is just a twist on the crock pot grape jelly meatballs. You just want to put a bag of frozen meatballs in a crock pot. And then I'm topping that with 1 can of like cranberry sauce, or you can use, like I had fresh from Thanksgiving when I made these. So it's a fresh cranberry sauce. You can use the jellied kind or the whole cranberry. I like the idea of the whole cranberry because it's kind of cute in there and it's very festive. And then 1 jar of chili sauce, or you can also use cocktail sauce, so like you dip in shrimp in. That's also very good in this. And then the original recipe calls for grape jelly, which is very sweet. Now cranberry sauce is a little bit more tangy, so in order to get the sweetness into these meatballs, you don't want it to taste just like chili. You want to add 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Give everything a really good mix, cover it, and cook on high for 3 to 4 hours. One thing I really like about this recipe is that this time of year I find the cranberry sauce on sale for like $1.50, which is actually cheaper than a jar of jelly. So they're less expensive, and having those little cranberries in there is actually super festive and super cute, and the flavor is phenomenal as well. So you get, you know, all the things with these, and they're just something a little bit different. You know, maybe you're sick of those grape jelly meatballs and you have to try these cranberry ones, but they are festive, they're delicious. I just put them on a plate. I put those little tiny little forks from Dollar Tree in them, so it looks so gourmet. You can also put them in a bowl, or you can serve them right in the crock pot at your family meal. Next up, we're going to make some really cute sausage bites. These are actually only like 3 ingredients if you count the main ingredients, so it's a crazy easy recipe and super delicious. So you want to start with a pound of sausage. I accidentally bought chicken sausage, Italian chicken sausage. They turned out great, but I was like, why did I not buy regular Italian sausage? It was like in the same area, you know? You want to start your pan with a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter, but I forgot to add mine first, so I kind of already started cooking. But you want to have that in there because we're going to end up putting some crackers in this, so in order to kind of give it a little bit more oil. And I feel like if I had done Italian sausage, it would have been a little bit greasier too, but either way works. So then you want to add about half a sleeve of Ritz crackers into this. And this recipe is super easy to double, so you would just use 2 pounds of sausage and a full sleeve of Ritz crackers. Or it's also easy to make ahead. So you can kind of make the little puffs ahead, put them in the fridge, and then cook them right before you head to a party or right before you have guests arrive. And then once everything's just really crumbled in there, so it's almost like a little bit of a stuffing, this flavor in this is really amazing. It's really incredible, like what just these couple of ingredients can do. And then you just need a sheet of puff pastry thawed. So just follow the package instructions. I just got the Pillsbury brand. And then you want to make an egg wash. So just 1 egg beaten. I put that on the side, and we're going to go over that after. So we don't need to do the egg wash right now, but just so it's ready. And then take the puff pastry and just slice it in half down the middle. You can do it either way, but I kind of wanted to do it this way since I was going to be slicing it the horizontal way as well, so kind of where those lines were, I wanted those to be on there. And then take half of your mixture and put it down the center of each of those pieces, and then we're going to roll the piece and just pinch it at the end so that it has like a seam. The seam is closed, and then you want to put it seam side down so the seam is kind of on the bottom. And then you can take a knife. I actually just took a pizza cutter because it seemed like the right type of tool to use for this. Cut it down the middle, and we're going to cut each one into 8 slices. And they end up being these cute little like rolls, sausage mini bites. Separate those out on your on your pan, and then I just painted it with that egg wash. As an option, you could also put some everything bagel seasoning or some sesame seeds over the top of these. I knew my kids were going to be eating them, so I didn't want to surprise them with anything different than they expected, which was sausage and puff pastry. But you can easily top them with anything that you might think would be fun or that you have on hand, even some poppy seeds or something like that. And then you just want to bake these at 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. And they puff up so cute and adorable. They are the perfect little finger food, lots of flavor. The Ritz crackers really do amazing things in this, and they're just such a nice holiday treat. Next up, I'm going to show you a guacamole wreath. And I was a little hesitant to show this when I first made it because it's like one of those things like when your art is like not up to par with what you think it should be. I forgot to get tomatoes. So when I made the wreath, it didn't have like the little like what I wanted to look like cherries on it. But I was like, you know what? It's still a great idea. We're going to show it because I think that there's nothing like a fresh guacamole, and it's something lighter at the holidays. Again, kind of like in conjunction with those smoked salmon pieces. You sometimes want something that has like a little bit of a healthier option, and having guacamole makes a big difference. So why not make into something cute? You can make a wreath and then you put the chips in the middle. And I'm just going to show you a quick and easy guacamole recipe. So you want to dice up half of an onion. You really want that small dice or like even like a mince because you don't want like massive pieces of onion in your guacamole unless you love that. And then if you like your guacamole to have a little spice, I would also mince up a jalapeno. You can do half a jalapeno. You can do 2 jalapenos if you really love it. But we're not doing any of that because my kids do not like it spicy. And then I have a 1/4 cup of fresh cilantro. If you don't have fresh cilantro, you can always use some dried too, maybe like a 1.5 teaspoons. But the fresh really does make a difference in this. And it's pretty inexpensive to keep on hand. And then you also want to add the juice of 1 lime. And then we're going to do 4 avocados in here. So just peel them, pit them, put them in. Then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And mash it up. I like to mash it up with a potato masher, but you can use a fork. My mom even uses like an immersion blender because she likes hers to be really creamy. So it's up to you, kind of how you like to do it. And then I also added in a little bit of garlic powder at the end because I realized I just need a little extra flavor. So about a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder to this, and this makes quite a bit of guacamole. And that's the point at which you want to make your wreath. So I did a wreath. You could even do a Christmas tree, but I do recommend that you have some toppings to make it look, more festive like. So if you take some grape tomatoes or some cherry tomatoes and you slice them in half, or even just put the whole things on them, it can look like a festive wreath. We just served this for our little Christmas tree decorating celebration. I always, to decorate the Christmas tree, make a bunch of little appetizers, and the kids just have a blast. We have them in matching pajamas. They were so excited to get everything out, and it was just a really wonderful time. Now we're going to kind of move on to main dishes, and I'm making a side of a festive holiday pasta salad. I feel like this is something totally out of the box I haven't seen before, and it's super fun. So I'm just cooking up some orzo. I'm using this cassava orzo, but you can use whatever you want. About maybe 2 cups of cassava. I have about a cup of pomegranate seeds, a couple of tablespoons of scallions or green onions, and a cup of roasted squash. And for the dressing, we're going to do 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of honey, and a teaspoon of salt. And a lot of times I just mix this dressing in with the salad, but with the honey, I really want it to kind of emulsify. So I needed to mix it separately. You want to make sure that honey doesn't just like get stuck to a couple of the pieces of squash, and then that's it. You want to make sure that that honey is part of the salad dressing. You can obviously taste it and adjust for seasonings. Because the squash is already seasoned, I'm not going to season the dressing. And then you can just pour it on and taste. What happens with a pasta salad like this is that orzo is going to absorb a lot of the flavor. So don't be surprised if you kind of put some in and it seems like enough, and then you go take it out later and it's if you're not serving it right away, that it's like not tangy enough. Make sure you save that dressing and you can just pour it over after. Now this is super basic and delicious, very inexpensive. This squash is usually on sale this time of year. I always have scallions on hand. Pomegranates are also seasonal, so you can find them for like $1 or $2, and they're just an amazing thing to add a little bit of extra color during your holiday season. And so this way we kind of have that red and green motif when we have a really inexpensive side. Now this is delicious as it is. I've transferred it into a really pretty pottery baking dish, which is usually our serving dish. These are what I would like. These are what I ask for Christmas each year. I love homemade pottery, and it really makes setting things out on my Christmas table really beautiful. And it's not something disposable, so you can use it year after year, and it's just a really wonderful gift. You can always remember the person that got it for you. So that's what I always kind of ask for, is some serving plates. You can also make this even better by adding in some feta cheese, or you could use goat cheese. I'm not gonna add some because I do have people coming to enjoy this that don't enjoy feta, so I might add feta to mine separately. That's also gonna give it like that nice white look. So you've got red, green, and white, and it's just gonna be absolutely beautiful. We have bacon wrapped green beans as one of the sides. I'm cooking 4 to 6 slices of bacon. I think I only cooked 4, but you should do 6. You want to cook them until they're slightly cooked but not crispy. So we're kind of like par cooking this right now. Then add 1.5 pounds of green beans to a pot of boiling water with a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And we're just going to cook these for about 3 minutes until tender/crisp. They're going to be not fully cooked, but they are going to be kind of par cooked just like our bacon. And then drain those off. And then I have my 4 slices of bacon. Like I said, I would probably do 6 next time. I don't know why I only made 4. And you really want to reserve the drippings from that bacon. We're actually going to mix our green beans in those drippings, and it's going to give it a ton of flavor. To the drippings, add a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a sprinkle of salt and pepper, and then we're going to pour that right into those green beans and make sure that they are well covered. In a small bowl, combine 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and 1 tablespoon of water, and then we're going to set that aside as well. Slice each of your pieces of bacon in half. And then you're going to need some toothpicks. You're going to grab little bundles of green beans. It says 6 to 8, but I probably did a few more than that. And then you're going to actually kind of like tie that together with a toothpick with the bacon wrapped right around it, and it makes an adorable little bundle. So yes, you're definitely going to get your hands in there. So if you want to wear gloves, go ahead. I don't mind. It was just for my family, and I had freshly washed hands. But just try and squeeze as many green beans in there as you can. Wrap that in the bacon, and then we're going to brush it with that brown sugar mixture and roast those at 375 degrees for 20 to 22 minutes. And these are absolutely incredible. They're also great because you can make them ahead and then roast them a day of. Now for a main course, I always like to choose something inexpensive, and this year we have pork tenderloin with a cherry glaze. Now I was able to grab my tenderloin on sale. It was actually cheaper than this price here. Mine was $1.97 a pound, so if you can find that, that's fantastic. At 2.3 pounds, that's less than $5 for this entire Christmas dinner, so very, very affordable. Now, we're just gonna open this up, and I'm gonna make my spice rub. We're using 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And then we'll do a teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix all that together and then rub that all over your tenderloin. And then I refrigerated mine for a couple of hours so those flavors could really meld into the tenderloin. You could probably do that overnight too to make it easy on yourself. Get this hard part, quote unquote, out of the way before the big day. And then when your tenderloins are ready, add them to the slow cooker and pour in a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. You could also use chicken bouillon, or you could use beef broth here if that's what you have on hand. And then cut about a 1/4 cup of butter into pats of butter and put that right over the top of the tenderloin. And then you can either cook this on low for 2 hours or cook on high for 1 hour. The tenderloin cooks very quickly. It's a very thin cut of meat, so that should be plenty of time. And then right before your tenderloin is about to be finished, you want to make that cherry glaze or cherry sauce. You want a 1/2 cup of cherry preserves. I found mine was like Morello cherry. I also think it would be good with raspberry, so up to you, but I use cherry. Then you want to add in 2 tablespoons of vinegar and a 1/4 cup of honey. And then for seasonings, just a tiny sprinkle of nutmeg and a tiny sprinkle of cinnamon, so probably about a 1/4 teaspoon of each. And you want to mix that together and bring it up to a simmer and let that go for about 7 minutes, and we're going to kind of cook it down and reduce it, and it makes a beautiful sauce to go with your pork. So this is also very festive to have that red to go over the pork. It has that like flavor of Christmas time with the nutmeg and the cinnamon, and it just is so homey. For the pork, you just want to slice it into, I guess they'd be called like medallions, like little circles. And then we serve this with my Brussels sprouts and butternut squash that is now viral on Instagram at 3.8 million views. So if you haven't tried it, it is worth it. It is so good and definitely a great Christmas time treat. So I'll make sure to link that below for you too. And some mashed potatoes. So really this whole meal is really Christmas worthy. Next up, we have slow cooker fudge. This is insanely easy to make, so delicious and so beautiful. Now, I did use a slow cooker liner, but if I were to do it again, I probably would not use a slow cooker liner just because you'll see through the process that it would have been better if I could just kind of scoop the fudge out with a spatula. The ingredients in this are super simple. You want 2 cups of either milk chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate chips. I use the semi-sweet because that's kind of what I prefer, but milk chocolate would be fine too. And then a 1/4 cup of heavy cream and 1/3 cup of honey. And I'm using my special technique where I spray the bottom of a measuring cup and then pour the honey in, and it really helps the honey not stick to the bottom of the measuring cup. You want to give this a stir and cook it on high for 1 hour. And then you want to add a 1/2 cup of white chocolate chips and a teaspoon of vanilla. And you just want to give this a nice stir, make sure everything is melted. That white chocolate will melt right in. And then you want to pour this into an 8x8 pan, and you want to make sure that it's either foil lined or sprayed down really well. Now, this is where I didn't like the liner because I was like, oh, I'll just squeeze it out, but it was really hot. So it didn't really work well to squeeze that out. I would have preferred to just take a spatula and scoop out the fudge mixture into my 8x8 pan. Then you want to sprinkle this with a coarse sea salt if you can or if you have it. You could also use sprinkles. I think sprinkles would look beautiful on this time of year, but I do recommend salting it too because there's something about that salty and sweet. And then you want to allow this to cool completely for 1 to 3 hours. Once it's totally cool, you can cut it into squares and it is delicious. You can actually store it for up to 5 days in an airtight container. It's a great thing to give as a holiday treat or just serve on your holiday table. Was I holding out on you? Did I save the best for last? Maybe. This no-bake Oreo cheesecake is fantastic and it's only 5 ingredients, so it's kind of a no-brainer. It might need to be on your next holiday spread. So you just want to start with 1.5 cups of heavy cream, and you're going to whip it like you're making whipped cream. Once you have those stiff peaks like whipped cream, you want to combine that with 12 ounces of softened cream cheese and 1/2 cup of sugar. And you're going to stir that until it's completely combined. And then obviously the most important part, the Oreos. Julian here is helping out, which is another way to get your kids involved, or grandkids as it may be, or even great grandkids. My kids are great grandkids to 2 great sets of grandparents for me. You want to smash 1 package of Oreos. You can do this in a food processor, or you can, like I said, let your little guy do it. And then you do want to set aside a few, or you can have some extra Oreos on the side because you're going to put some crumbles over the top too. And we're just going to fold in those crushed Oreos. This is a little bit of a thick mixture, so it does take some time, but it is worth it. Good? And then you want to pour that mixture into a prepared pie crust. So I chose a graham cracker crust, but you could definitely use like one of those Oreo crusts. You can make your own if you have graham crackers on hand. That's super easy. Don't forget to sprinkle the rest of those Oreos right over the top of that, and then refrigerate it for 4 hours until it's firm, and it ends up being so delicious. You don't even need a slice this big. It is very decadent, it's very rich and very filling, but it is wonderful. You could take a smaller slice and really enjoy it with friends and family. Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Make sure to click on this next video to keep the inspiration going, and I'll see you all very soon. I was out of use.